quite a modern woman, like quite a strong lady, and I think that's why I like her.
Yeah.
Because she would have stood out a lot.
Yeah.
And stood up for herself.
Absolutely.
Tell me why you think she's a strong lady.
I mean, how many female writers were happening in those times? There was barely any. So to see a female writer that has lasted 250 years is fantastic. It's unheard of in those days, so it's amazing to see that.
She still matters.
Ooh, good question.
Because I think we still need that power.
Ooh.
Definitely.
Do you think she's empowering?
Yeah. If you think, she probably was a bit, at the time, it would have been a bit very much like scandalous.
And she was single as well.
Yeah. So to go against all of that, I think it's still quite a statement for women today. So.
And there's so many women upstairs that just adore her and inspired by her. So it's exciting that she's still doing that for women of all ages now.
She was, I suppose, quite complex, quite lonely as well, really, I got the feeling. She didn't really have a husband, I think it was, so she was quite lonesome, really, and she just sort of travelled around quite a bit as well, really. Sort of Southampton as well, also here as well, London as well, so it's, but yeah, she had a family around her as well, so that was really important for her. But yeah, she wrote some amazing books, really, so it's...
I think she was someone who paid attention a lot to her surroundings. Her take on satire of the society that she was in just shows that she was someone who maybe wasn't always in the forefront, but definitely always someone who was paying attention.
Yeah, I think maybe more of a comedian, almost to a point, like seeing life, maybe it wasn't as easy, but finding like the comedy in moments and then putting that into stories.
Yeah, I agree. I think she was quiet and she was probably quite introverted, but that's what gave her such an interesting view of life, because people were living around her, but she was able to kind of take what she wanted from their stories. I think probably a little frustrated. I think she had so many dreams. To write books like that, she had a lot of dreams, and maybe she never really got to fulfill them.
Interesting. The amount of literature I've read about her would say that she was quite privileged and had a lot of good opportunities, and obviously hung out with people who were very literate and educated. But I think inside she had the most amazing imagination and was able to use the people that she met to elaborate on their character and really go dig deep and come up with great storylines with unusual characters in them to just draw people into the story. So I'm really impressed by her style and her creativity and her wonderful imagination.
I think she's very naughty. I think she's very naughty. She likes to play, like have a kind of chess play, or maybe any kind of play with the readers. But that play really makes us feel catharsis, and that those tricks in those plays are so sparkling. So I think she's a really bright one. She's a really bright author, and she's really great when it comes to when to go in, when to go out, when to give, when to not, that kind of thing, to balance. Yeah.
Of her personally, I think she's extremely observant. I love how she wrote all her characters to be able to be relatable to this day. So I love watching all that. So and seeing all the characters come to life in different people that I can relate to.
And do you know much about her life? What do you know about her life?
I do. I volunteer for the Jane Austen Literacy Foundation. So I've been doing that for about 8 years, and we raise money for children around the world to help with resources for, and Caroline Jane Knight, who is the 5th great niece of Jane Austen, she's the founder of it. And
what's the name of the charity?
the Jane Austen Literacy Foundation. Then it just helps get resources for children around the world so they can write and read, and so it's.
Yeah, I think very interesting how she just dedicated her whole life to books, and she was very perceptive of all the people around her and her family and friends in her life.
Yeah, and her work is like still timeless to this day. very relevant to just love stories in general. So yeah.
I mean, I know her backstory, and I know, her life was cut short at an early age, and it's quite sad that she wasn't able to get married. And if she'd lived, she could have written so much more. And I know the ball that we're going to tonight, Sanditon, was a novel that she had started, and it would have been great to see where that went.
So I'm not as familiar with her writing, but what I gathered from the movie, at least, I can kind of see why people are really into it, especially now, since it seemed very much about the rituals, the kind of the dressing up, and which is probably something that you don't get a lot nowadays. And I think this is kind of the impression that I got from the movie is this is something that's doesn't quite exist anymore. So I understand why people are into it.